This isn't about you, Shug.
Frodo's like looking like a Sarah McLachlan commercial, staring out the door.
Oh.
I had to lock him in because there is some kind of critter that has created a nest somewhere in the yard.
Ooh, fun.
And one thing about Frodo is he is a digger. He's going to dig. And I don't have time today to give him a bath. So he's preemptively in timeout.
I bought one of those mud busters. I haven't had to use it yet.
What's that?
It's like a plastic cup that has this silicone thing with a bunch of nubbins on it. So when your dog's paws get muddy, you just kind of put it in there and it like scrapes all of the mud out of their paws.
Cool.
My dad said it worked great for their dog. The other day, Ellie came in and just between every one of her fingers was like a giant clump of grass and mud.
Oh my God. Okay, tell me how it goes if your dogs revolt. Because Frodo's very particular about his little toes.
I think Ellie will be okay. I won't try it on Shug. He's very particular about his feet, given that he only has 3. He's like, don't touch them.
I have to take some responsibility here because Frodo, he's like a very clean dog. He hates being dirty. But to be clean, he needs the human who has opposable thumbs to make grooming appointments for him at regular intervals, which I do not do. So right now his paws look like little Grinch feet. They are like, if anyone who has a long-haired dog knows, it's ridiculous. How is this something that dogs have just evolved to have? Long-haired dogs. Like in the wild, surely that's not great. Anyway. Okay, Abby, first of all, I name drop you all the time on the podcast, particularly on the This Week in Tech History episodes, because I'm like, oh, Abby says this, Abby says that. And I realize that if somebody isn't like a voracious listener of the Frontier podcast and has listened back to your staff interviews, they might not know who you are. So this is Abby, you guys. Abby's our content manager. She's the mastermind behind literally everything we do from a content perspective. So this is Abby.
So it was fun to like write an episode I knew I was going to be on.
I know. Yeah, this is going to be good. We should probably put some kind of disclaimer at the top of episodes. Like, we're not historians, and a lot of what we say is probably incorrect. So just bring your sense of humor, guys. Bring it along for the ride, which is probably required for today because today's historical event is Jack Dorsey sending the first tweet.
Yes.
This happened in 2006, March 21st, in fact. So Jack Dorsey was a member of the team behind Audio, which employed tools that enabled users to create, record, and share podcasts with a simple Adobe Flash-based interface. Do you know if Audio still exists?
It doesn't.
Great. Figured not, but whatever. But Jack Dorsey was working on little side projects. His idea was to share short messages with a group of people via SMS. And Jack was the primary designer of the project. The codename was very classic for early 2000s, Twitter with no vowels. Oh man, someone on Lenny's podcast was like, you can tell, I think it was April Dunford actually. She's like, you can tell the era that a company was named based on the naming trend they followed. And this is spot on early 2000s, no vowels. So that's codename. The first official tweet that he sent, again, this was on March 21st, 2006, was sent at 9:50 a.m. denoting that he was just setting up my Twitter with no vowels. The public release followed in July and saw Twitter spin off into its own company, which found its first major success and buy-in at the 2007 edition of South by Southwest. Just a kingmaker, that conference.
Right? Like, I feel like that was just like a symbol of like everything that was happening that time in tech, where they were like, yes, the place to do this is South by Southwest. Yes.
There is a new service, and supposedly it is the next big thing. It's a name you can't forget. It's called Twitter. So what makes Twitter so different?
Dana, it's an incredibly strange thing. There's a series of questions that are generated by this. And the first is it possible that making a cell phone call could soon become a thing of the past? And is it possible that the ever popular MySpace, even blogging, are slowly being eaten by this thing called a Twitter, where you're about to learn what a Twitter is, and you're also about to learn how it's slowly worming its way into a presidential campaign?
It's stupid and lame and small.
Yet master blogger Robert Scoble can't keep his fingertips off.
Obviously, today, Twitter needs no introduction. It is ubiquitous, and it's used for everything from sharing videos of an angry emu named Emmanuel Todd Lopez. I didn't pre-read that part, Abby. That's funny. To large-scale organization for uprising against nefarious government entities. True. And while it's going through a bit of a time right now, it's clear that any platform that hopes to overtake it has a lot of catching up to do. Speaking of lately, let's not forget that in 2021, crypto entrepreneur Sina Estavi bought Twitter founder Jack Dorsey's first ever tweet as an NFT for $2.9 million. I did forget that, actually. Turns out NFTs don't have they don't have quite the same weight behind them as originally thought. And when he tried to sell it for $48 million just a year later, damn. The top bid was $280. What?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I should have bought it.
I know.
Damn. Sounds like Elon could have gotten a great deal on it. LOL. That's gold, Abby. Okay. Let's get into it. Abby, what was the first tweet you ever sent?
So I had Twitter forever. I'm like very much a lurker. The first tweet I ever sent was actually at a CSS dev conference in New Orleans in like 2017. Because everyone was using it to like, people were like, oh, where are we meeting up after the conference? And they were like, I'll put it on Twitter. It's like, that's certainly interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like right after I started doing software development. So I still have like a ton of things to learn about like the culture of it. But everybody was using Twitter to communicate. So my first tweet was at a dev conference.
That's a total thing. I'm pretty sure I've had several handles on Twitter. I had like college faith handle where I was just like sending out fire tweet after fire tweet. Just funny as hell, making observations about life of a kid in a liberal arts school in upstate New York. That Twitter has died long ago. I then got a Twitter to use when I moved to Nashville. I moved here for Teach for America, so I was teaching 8th graders. And part of like our teacher training was like, you should use Twitter in your classroom. So I had like a Miss Benson's class Twitter. And I'm pretty sure my first tweet from what was supposed to be my like professional teaching Twitter was just tweeting at a ice cream, like a gelato store in Nashville, asking them if they were open. I don't know how I ended up working in tech. Clearly, I could have just Googled it, but needless to say, that went unanswered.
You're like, let's ask on Twitter. Maybe that way someone will just send me the answer. I have to do no further work.
Precisely. Yes. Because naturally the person scooping the ice cream is also the person running their social media. Yeah. Didn't get a response. And I was like, Twitter doesn't work. So I took a long hiatus and then obviously got back to it with Gun. Good memories though. I think it's kind of like Facebook where like everybody's experienced seasons of adoption or lack thereof.
Yeah.
I always forget that it's been around for so long too, because I feel like the platform itself has had a lot of seasons in terms of purpose and how people use it.
Absolutely. I went through like my longest season appears to be just retweeting a bunch of stuff.
Same.
And then I found out very quickly that like arguing in the Twitter sphere is not something I should do because I get too angry at people. I'm like, why don't they understand? Well, it's the internet. Mm-hmm. Nobody needs to understand you.
I too had a season of being a retweet queen, and it usually corresponds with like the level of apathy or lack thereof I have towards politics. And when I'm not apathetic, I am very fired up. And so you'll see spikes in my Twitter usage when I like wake up a little bit every couple of years or so.
Yeah.
I feel like obviously over the last few months, Twitter has been dominating the news cycle, but I feel like it's kind of always been a thing. Like, oh, this is happening on Twitter. I saw this on Twitter. What are some of the most memorable Twitter news cycle moments that come to mind for you?
My favorite, most recent one is like after Elon Musk bought Twitter and you could get verified, you get your blue check. And someone from, was it Eli Lilly?
Yeah.
Someone pretended to be a pharmaceutical company and said that insulin was free. And
yeah,
the end result is that they just announced that they're capping it at $35, which they should have anyway.
Right.
To me, it was just like, oh, that was real chaotic good.
Yeah. I feel like there's so many phrases in my daily vernacular that there's so many layers of abstraction now. But if I really dig into like, why do I say this? Like, where does this phrase come from? It's either from the movie Bridesmaids or it's from Twitter. I was thinking of one. I mean, I probably said it yesterday, which is delete your account, which is like, just go home. We're done here. Like, come on, you've lost. And we all know who tweeted delete your account. Just like any time I think that there has been either like a brand or a public figure who just throws caution to the wind and uses Twitter like a 13-year-old has been my favorite.
You know who I follow that is so random and I love? Do you remember the band Ep.16?
Yes.
Fire Twitter account.
What?
So sarcastic, so like self-deprecating at times. Like, highly recommend it.
Interesting. Okay. That's my other favorite thing is like people who are low-key good on Twitter.
Yeah.
That you would never expect. It's like, have you followed, this random actor's daughter's dog walker? Because, they're Twitter famous. It's like, no, of course I don't. But I'll add it to my diet.
There's another one that I like. I can't remember the name of the account, but it's this Sikh guy who lives like really far up in northern Canada where it's just like cold and snowy all the time. And he dances.
Oh my God.
So he like goes outside and does all these like traditional Sikh dances in the snow. And it's just like filled to the brim with joy. Like it's so, you could be having a bad day and watch this guy dance. And it's just like, look at this. He's just so happy.
It's interesting because I feel like we were hacking our way. We were using Twitter to hack so many things that now exist, right? Like that guy that you're describing, probably the platform for him is TikTok, right? But I love that Twitter was it was what's available.
Yeah.
When I think about the place that Twitter has had in our historical narrative since its founding, obviously the Arab Spring happened in 2012. And that was how many years after the first tweet was sent? 6 years. God. And since then, we've seen Twitter be used, for a whole slew of political movements and social movements.
Yeah.
Could that have happened on any other platform? Like we had Facebook, we had Instagram, we had Yelp or like Foursquare.
I feel like the basis of those was around like sharing whole stories. Or like the basis of Facebook is like you're sharing a story about something that's happening to you, or you're initiating a longer conversation where people have the space to comment and go back and forth with like larger chunks of information. Instagram is about like sharing this picture of a moment in time, and Twitter is what is this instant?
It's what's happening now.
Yeah. They should use that as a tagline.
Yeah.
The life cycle of a tweet is so short because there are so many of them, and you know, up until, I can't remember what year it was, but it was a lot longer ago than I thought. Like it might have been like 2007 that they changed the character count
from
140 to 280.
Oh, I feel like it was 140 forever. I'd be very surprised if it was 2007, but
I thought so too. Regardless, it gives you a limited amount of space it really forces people to condense thoughts, to use their words very carefully, which I don't think you see in other social media platforms.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the power.
I won't pretend to know any of the intricacies of the algorithms on various social platforms. But I think what's interesting about Twitter, at least what I used to see on my timeline, was actually very little of people that I actually followed because I didn't really follow people on Twitter. And I feel like the perspective available, just like scrolling a Twitter timeline, was very different than what you could get on like a Facebook or an Instagram. And I think that served political and social movements that were kind of born on Twitter really well, you know?
Yeah. I find a lot of stuff because it's something that someone I do follow has liked.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's good and bad to that, where part of it is like, if you're looking down the same silos, then you're kind of reinforcing what you already thought by continuing to read things that agree with that point. But you can also follow accounts that, like, I'm specifically thinking of like the Lincoln Project, you know, where it is a Republican-based organization, but they follow and share things from accounts that are Republican, that are kind of like right-leaning. And to see that, like, I don't think I need to tell anybody that I'm left-leaning. I feel like it's
if you're listening to the audio version, hop over to YouTube.
I have hot pink hair with like a neon green side rat tail. You know, it still allows you to kind of start diving into that and say, you know, what is happening on the other side of this conversation. And there's never a lack of information out there if you choose to seek it, especially somewhere like Twitter. Everyone has an opinion on Twitter.
It's very true. I mean, obviously the story for the last few months has been like hashtag goodbye Twitter. We're moving off Twitter. There's been some drama llama that we do not need to elaborate on because surely everyone listening has read probably more than their fair share about it. But what's interesting is, you know, there's plenty of platforms that are kind of vying to be the preferred Twitter alternative, but it's not evident yet who the front runner is going to be. And Twitter's still busy. People still be tweeting.
People still be tweeting, and I almost feel like the drama-rama that's been surrounding it has been kind of fueling that, where it's like, okay, well, where else are you going to find the most up-to-date information about what is happening with this product than right on the product?
Yeah, everybody likes to be in the thick of the drama. But what would it take if somebody's going to replace Twitter? What needs to be true about the platform? Does it just have to be like a Control-C, Control-V of Twitter?
How do you replace Twitter? I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a recent social platform where it's like how did Snapchat become Snapchat when there were technically other options? You know, they're like Instagram Shorts and Vine and
oh my God, R.I.P. Vine.
Snapchat became something bigger than all of this.
That doesn't make any sense to me, and we're going to need another episode so I can figure that out. But I think the thing about Twitter is, at least in my 2023 perspective, is the algorithm and the chance of virality is, for me, the thing that's sticky. Because I love seeing just like a random funny tweet from some person who has like 10 followers and just like had a tweet blow up, you know? And it's the same reason why TikTok is so addicting. Because, I mean, depending on your algorithm, maybe your algorithm is really like sad and a bummer. My algorithm is the happiest place in the world. It is like just random, hilarious, joyful videos. And I love it.
Yeah.
But they're people that I do not know and will never know in my real life. And they're also people who are not like verified, I don't know, comics. They are just random people. And
they're just random people with a TikTok account who did something funny and it hit.
Exactly. Yeah. And somehow like people were able to see it and the algorithm drove that engagement. And Anyway, all that to say, I think like the feature that would have to be replicated is that piece. Like how can me, little old Faith Benson in Nashville, Tennessee, with, you know, a kind of boring tech job, like find a random tweet from this girl in Nebraska who, you know, said something funny about her coffee maker this morning. I think that's the thing. That's the thing that's like sticky for at least people like me.
Yeah. Because if you look at, like, I don't think that there is inherently anything worse about something like Mastodon, but it's like the way that Mastodon is set up is so that you're engaging in a particular space about a particular shared set of whatever. Maybe it's tech, maybe it's cats, but you can likely only go as viral as like that space allows for.
Right. Which is very different than kind of a random but delightful selection of random tweets that at least I used to get. These days, my algorithm sucks. So
my algorithm has had some stuff come up lately that I'm like, why would you think I want to read that?
Yeah, it's weird. It feels whatever. It is what it is. I'm sure everybody can probably agree, but well, I'm interested to see what happens in this space this year. I can't say that I'm terribly in need of yet another social media platform that inevitably I will use and then discard.
I feel too old to adopt.
Yeah, it's that. And it's also like, I want to figure out how to help people spend less time on screens, and I want to spend less time on screens. So it just it doesn't feel like an exciting problem space to me in the way that it did 10 or 15 years ago when we were connecting the world and we were fueling important social movements. It feels different now. So we'll see.
And I think like how many things came out of, you know, that era of tech too, that were so like, you know, novel, new, exciting. Mm-hmm. Look how we can connect the world. And now we're like, woo. we connected the world, and there's a lot of scary things happening out there.
I'm just going to go meet my neighbors, I think. I think I can scratch that community itch just fine.
Yeah. We'll see. You know, I am interested to see where it goes over the next year.
Yeah.
Especially given all the change that's happened in the last couple of years.
Same. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do when we hang up is go see how much this NFT is selling for now, because I feel like we have to buy it.
At least, you know, I think that's a good PR move for sure.
It's great. I'll ask Tasia if we can put it on the Brex. Thanks for listening to the Frontier Podcast powered by Gun.io. We drop 2 episodes per week, so if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe on your platform of choice and come hang out with us again next week and bring all your internet friends. If you have questions or recommendations, just shoot us a Twitter DM at The Frontier Pod, and we'll see you next week.
I have to imagine they get very mad at him.
He doesn't.
I mean, in the wild.
Weirdly. In the wild, yes, for sure.
We had a little dog who was he was mostly hairless when we first adopted him, and it turns out that he was like some sort of very hairy dog.
No way.
So like he was 8 pounds and had hair that was like this long.
Yikes.
So it would get caught and everything because he was just a gross little animal.
All right. I feel guilty. I feel adequately guilty enough to go ahead and spend my quarterly $100 on my dog's haircut when I spend like $30 on my own haircut once a year.
Probably. What is this dog barking about?
You probably have a squirrel in your yard. You should really take care of that. They're dangerous.
That's Ellie's job. She's the squirrel hunter.